we're just gonna be long tossing, but I wanna talk you through some of the things that I was talking about in the screening if you got a chance to watch it. I have to kind of pop into this extension, right? Whereas you see Jared Jones, he's rotating, right? So he goes load, hold, snap into rotation. And that snap is happening in unison with his arm retracting. So you have this flow of energy that you're gonna then be able to capture when you land. See how Jared Jones just continuously gets into it from the top pelvis position. And now as we sink, just keep going. And that's why I want to get you in the 3 throw variation. I want to film those because there are throw variations that are going to really manipulate, that deep loaded posture. This posture allows him to now transfer that and rotate, flip up all in time while having acceleration going forward, blocking with the lead, extending the rear hip. And now as we see you, when you go into your throw, you're not capturing the amount of that forward acceleration with the torso as Jared Jones gets, right? So you see how those two things are interlinked? And this is all things that kind of happens as a byproduct of that move. Bridging the gap between what is your actual movement capacity and what your brain is telling your body to move like. Because more often times than not, there are 2 different movements. The reason why I want to do specific drive leg loading progressions with you, especially in catch play and in long toss, is because usually that opens up a new window of movement potential in your lower half. So things like drive leg loading, the holding of that drive leg force, right? And then snapping. All those things kind of open up when you have freedom. And then you have a different task too. My goal with online stuff is because I'm obviously not there to be super hands-on in person to determine these things. So an easy way to do it remotely is by giving you some drive leg progressions to do. I'll screen them. And then if you showcase a different movement pattern in your drill progressions, if you accomplish that move in a long toss, you have the move accessible, right? You have the movement of your lower half accessible. It's just you're not moving that way on the slope because your brain's perceiving it as a different task. A good way to determine these things online is just by giving you these loading progressions of the drive leg and then screening them and seeing if we're seeing a difference, right? So option A is we screen them and there's no difference and that's your body's movement. We need to find somewhere else to generate more energy in your throw. All right. But option B, if we do see movement potential open up within our lower half mechanics, then it's just about finding the right progressions that do that and hammering those to kind of reorganize your brain's way of interpreting the throw. What? So just stuff like presetting a deep state of your hinge, of your load in long toss, especially because you're having to get it out there, is a great way to kind of open up that. That's why I like doing switch throws, because you're going to preset in that loaded phase. Or stuff like throwing up from a box. Obviously, it's a fine line because the hip rotation mechanics, the lower box mechanics of that, you're obviously not going to want to concentric pop up and then come neutral. You want to show your body that we can explore ranges of motion in the deep state of our load, right? And more oftentimes than not, you're going to just reteach your brain on how these positions are not a threat. As long as the force matches the capacity, we're good. I'll use these last few throws to kind of give you some examples of how I would do this in catch play, especially in long toss. Oh boy! Something that a reverse lunge throw or a curtsy, right? So you're presetting that 90 degree. And then obviously, like I said earlier, you're not trying to come up all the way to neutral. You're just trying to showcase that I have ownership of that deep state right here. And as long as you have that, then you have movement capacity there, right? So it's going to be here, curtsy, my lead foot is behind my drive leg, and then I come up and throw. Now, what you'll find is that you have a lot more power potential behind that throw, but make sure that you're doing some before you get to a max long toss throw. But again, these progressions are just a tool to kind of open up this brain and the way it understands loading. So we can even switch, come up, throw. Something that you add like tempo, you add external sense of stability when you drive that drive foot into the ground. And like I said, if we're seeing that movement range open up in that throw, then oh boy. If we see it open up in that particular throw, but we don't see it on the mound, then your brain's just perceiving the movements on a mound differently than it is in a long toss throw. Do a regular just reverse lunge, up to throw. But notice when I come up, I'm not coming up all the way to where my drive leg knee extends. It's staying in that loaded posture here and throw. The long toss is gonna then force your torso. It's gonna force your torso to stay stacked longer while you load and while you progress forward in your load. And that's where we'll see that move I was showing you with Jared Jones, where it's like he holds it, continues to sink down, oh boy, hop, continues to sink down while still progressing forward while holding on to the ground. And that's done by these, right? The space between your knees. So then you can do one turn and switch. So if I go here, go boom, boom, back, load, throw. That's another one of those moves that you tease in a little bit of movement, tempo. You tease in that external sense of having to stabilize in your drive leg to produce the power for that throw. And if you open up that movement that we want to see by just deviating the task a little bit, right? You're throwing it in the air, you're throwing it as far as you can. On you, sure. So if we open it up in a long toss throw, we have it. Now we just got to blend it to the slope. Even stuff like where you're backpedaling and you have to stick and throw, even stuff like that is forcing the movement of forward momentum. Obviously we want to accelerate forward to produce it out of our hand, but still holding onto the ground and still using the ground when it comes time to then transfer that from the ground up, making sure everything's aligned. I honestly think the biggest disconnect right now for you in your delivery is the fact that like we're not seeing that extra move of holding on to that loading phase. So then it throws off our alignment when we anchor down, right? It throws off the alignment I was saying with the mound. Right. So I was saying like with your slope, right? It kind of looks like you can't take an extra 6 inches in your stride. So it almost looks like your brain has downloaded so many reps on that slope that now it's just cutting off your loading phase because it knows that it can't hold on to that load for long, because it's not allowing you to hold on to that load for as long as you can, because you're gonna fall off the mount, right? Hopefully that helps. I'd love to see some of those, and it doesn't matter, like whatever drive leg loading progression you do, it's still gonna open up a pretty good visual for me to determine that, right? But so if once we get that hammered down, then we can proceed with like the next steps too, right? Because like I said, if that's just your anatomical restriction, that's fine. I've dealt with plenty of cases like that. Now we just need to look at other pieces in the delivery themselves in terms of energy systems, and we just need to amplify certain energies elsewhere because we're not able to do it with the drive leg loading. I was very similar to that like a couple years back. But over years of taking video of myself and just watching the way that I long toss and watching what my lower body does to organize way more powerfully in the long toss, that tells me that it's not a movement like limitation. It's just I need to increase the amount of repetitions of that proper movement over time. Yeah. Even like step backs in your pull down phase, right? Something that get your feet going, and then that external sense of stability when you slam back. Don't get stuck, slam back. And I love doing this in pull downs too, right? Pull downs at like a 200, 180 feet, because you still have to organize your torso a little bit in favor of loading in the drive leg, oh boy. But then you get into close range and it's sometimes the opposite. So just to get the feet moving, get them off the ground, and step back, drop. So we're about 225 right now. So I still have to get not only just a good amount of force behind the baseball in this throw to get it there, But like I said, I have to hold on to my drive leg longer to produce that effortless power. And then this is what like a reverse lunge or a curtsy. Remember the reverse lunge, your feet, your hips they're parallel, right? There's no counter rotating, but the curtsy is your lead foot is behind. And so when you come up, you're gonna have a little bit more momentum going forward as compared to the reverse lunge because you're coming up neutral, right? Curtsy, you're coming up, foot is kind of leading you into a momentum forward. And then the reverse lunge, your lead foot's a little bit more neutral. Now your drive is coming from only the drive. Yeah, boy. This one's a reverse lunge, back, up, through. But see how as I come up, I kind of get into that range of like my hips, and then I just ride that out into my anchor point while sinking into the anchor and not falling into the anchor point. So this is a curtsy behind. I'm gonna pick it up, I'm gonna get a little bit of momentum forward. My torso is gonna tilt to hold on to that load. Drop. And then as soon as that's transferred and you block, then it's dead. It's almost as dead, right? You stay in extension and you're dead. Because right now I think you're missing out on a lot of key pieces at the end of your delivery because of essentially your drive phase. Boy, I'll do a curtsy on this one. Boom. But stick, lead leg neutral, kind of counterbalance your weight, and then linear momentum towards your desired target. Boy, this one's a reverse, and I can even add like a hop too for added external sense. I can go here, down, down, right. Now the more you add that external sense, I think the more you're gonna open up that range. If it's not anatomical, right? That's all to say. If it's an anatomical thing, we just kind of need to move on. Don't want to fight too much anatomical restriction. Boy. Nice, really good. Curtsy, going forward. Good. Boy. Nice. All right, let me get another one. That one's sick. Nice. Nice sesh. That worked out good.